You're listening to The Big Iron Buzz. Welcome to our latest episode of The Big Iron Buzz, where each week we'll bring you the latest news and trends in the ag, real estate, and used equipment markets. This podcast is brought to you by Big Iron Auctions and Realty, rural America's premier online unreserved auction site, bringing you the rural connections, respected values, and real deals. I'm Drew Dolezal. I'm the host of today's show, and our guest today is Mark Stock, co-owner and co-CEO here at Big Iron Auctions. Mark, the auction landscape has changed dramatically over the last 30 days. Talk a little bit about what you're seeing here.
That's the most interesting thing I've seen in the last 36 years of business, is where you're closing or postponing on-site auctions because of health and safety concerns, and rightly so. We need to get ahead of this disease, this virus that's going around. We need to take all the precautions necessary to keep everybody safe, and we're doing that here at Big Iron in the way we've conducted our business. Most of our locations, we've only got a handful of people working in our offices. Everybody else is working from their home. So last year when we had the flood that came through, we kind of set everybody up to work from their home, and we kept all that technology in place in the event we would ever need it again for another flood. Well, it turned out we're not doing it for a flood, we're doing it for a virus. And hopefully our health officials and all of our doctors and our nurses and our health professionals, treat everybody safely, and hopefully they come up with a cure. That's first and foremost. But in terms of how it affected the auction business, there's been a lot of postponements, a lot of cancellations, and our phone has been ringing off the wall with those folks that wanted to sell some of the equipment on their local area, small community consignment sale. They wanted to sell some items, generate some cash for some cash flow reasons, and now those auctions have been postponed or canceled indefinitely, and those folks now are calling us up, and we are scheduling times to go list that equipment to sell on our online bidding platform, because our platform is a safe environment in terms of there's no social interaction with a big crowd. The interaction is all done virtually through the internet and from the convenience of their index finger when they push the bid button. So they can still watch the videos, and they can still look at all the pictures, and they can still call the owners and ask the questions. They just don't listen to the auctioneer barking out the numbers. They just see the online auctioneer who's taking bids 24 hours a day, and you can bid in that environment 24 hours a day, and from the convenience of wherever your internet connection is, whether it be your home, whether it be your shop, whether it be on your smartphone through the Big Iron Auction mobile app. So those are the things that we're seeing that have changed. We are using extreme caution when it comes to listing equipment now for the safety of all of our reps and all of our sales managers. We do the majority of the paperwork now via the internet or through the mail. We have dropped off agreements in people's seats of their pickup in front of their house. We have talked through the agreements with sellers over the phone when they get their copy and they have questions. We just don't have the sales presentation face-to-face anymore. We're doing it over the phone, and we've used several different apps like Zoom and Microsoft Teams and several other apps now to have those face-to-face conversations with our sellers. So technology is absolutely unbelievable, and we're a technology company. That's what we do. So we've been doing this for a long time. We just have to implement the safety factors of how we're doing it to keep all of the buyers and the sellers and their equipment and the reps safe from any potential hazards that may be caused from the spread of the COVID-19. And hopefully we get this taken care of soon for the well-being of the whole country and the world.
Yeah, you got that right. So you mentioned that your sales reps are taking some extra precautions when working with their customers. What's their reaction been to that? Have they had maybe a difficult time working through some of those scenarios, or have they embraced it and done just as good of a job as before?
Most people in the Midwest, we adapt to a lot of things, especially in the ag community, because you're all geared up, ready to go, maybe go out, do in the field, do some planting or or doing some field work and it rains, and then you got to readjust. So it takes you a day or 2 or 3 days to readjust, and you find yourself doing something else to fill in that gap. So we're pretty resilient, we're pretty adaptable, and we're pretty doggone smart. I mean, that's the farming population. There are some brilliant people that are putting food, fiber, and fuel on everybody's table and in their tanks. And we have to give agriculture a lot more credit than they usually get because of the technology that has been adapted into agriculture. So farmers are already ready to use the technology. When you say, hey, I'll email you over a paper, or I'll send you a form that you can do a .net or DocuSign document, they're doing that with their bankers already. They're doing a lot of this stuff already. So it's nothing new to them. Believe it or not, as flyover states, we get a lot of stuff done technology-wise. So we're prepared for this, and we just have to exercise that extreme caution and take our time. When we write the listing agreement, then this owner usually moves the equipment to an open area where they can take the pictures. And that's maybe delayed that process a day or two because you don't want to have a whole bunch of people coming over and help. Now, some of our reps, depending on who the seller is, sometimes the sellers, they don't have the capacities to be lining up the machinery moving because of their age or their situation. Maybe that's why they're selling it. And our reps, believe it or not, most of them, they are farm boys and girls. So they just say, well, you just show me where your equipment is, or some of them bring their own skid loaders over. Some of them bring their own wheel loaders to move machinery around and stage it in places where they can take pictures. And the sellers sometimes are looking out their kitchen window. That's what we do. It's a full service. Some sellers want to do it themselves, and that's fine. We have no problem with that. Some sellers don't have the ability to do that right now, and we're still taking care of those customers. So we're just being extra cautious.
So for maybe those who are counting on these in-person auctions that have been now postponed or canceled, they're probably going to have to move to some sort of online platform, much like Big Irons. For those who haven't maybe used an online auction service yet, what would they look for when they choose an online auction provider?
Well, they only have to choose one, and that's BigIron.com, because we have such a huge following of people. And I'm being sincere. I believe our business model is unique from all the other models that are out there. Number one, we don't charge a buyer's fee. And that is such a huge advantage to any seller. And you ask, why is that? Well, because a buyer is smart enough to start doing research on what that machine is worth, and then they're going to adjust the price according to what they got to add that additional buyer fee on to. Well, they don't have to worry about that with our site, so it's a little different. We also always publish who the owner is and somebody to talk to. So they have a contact person, somebody that can help answer questions or at least give directions to where they can come and look at the equipment. We always publish the rep's name and their phone number. And we have a lot of pictures and a lot of video footage. So those are some of the things that we do. We're very consistent as well, and we always are lien free. And what does that mean? That means every time that we meet with a seller, we run the UCC searches. It's an expensive process, but we do it because if there is a lien on that item, or if that seller, that owner, maybe they have a blanket lien and they forgot they even signed a blanket lien a couple years ago. We work with those lenders to make sure that that piece of machinery, whatever it is sold to the highest bidder, and that buyer doesn't have to worry about somebody showing up and saying, oh, by the way, you either owe me X amount of dollars or I'm taking this and repossessing it. So we don't want to have those nightmares. So those are the things that we do with a tremendously talented team of people that work in our various office locations across the Midwest. And of course, we really do a hard, diligent job of schooling all of our sales personnel, our independent reps and our district managers and our region managers. So we're constantly providing more information for those folks to stay on top of all situations. What's happening right now with the ag equipment values, what the pros and cons are, the ups and downs. So this isn't just a hobby for us. We're not a publication company. We are an auction company. We understand the farmer psychology. We understand the buying psychology. We understand all of those things that are an important part of what we do, because every farmer buys or sells 3 or 4 pieces of machinery every year. It's part of what happens. We understand that cycle because most of us are farmers also.
Very good. Well, speaking of buying and selling, I'd like to talk a little bit about our April Fool's auction that we just had, as far as the results went. Can you tell me about some of the good-looking stuff we had there?
Yes, we had an outstanding sale here on April the 1st, and you know things are going to be a pretty good day when you sell a set of John Deere 4020 tractor fenders for $1,400. So that was kind of one of the first couple items that sold, and there was a lot of activity and a lot of bids, 84 different bids from several different states on a pair of John Deere 4020 tractor fenders. We really had a good day for the Steiger 600 quad track tractor that sold for Bank West in Highmore, South Dakota. Tractor with 3,600 hours, 600 horsepower quad track, folks, that brought $150,500. Brian Boz was the Big Iron rep, did an outstanding job of taking a lot of good quality pictures and an outstanding video, and he had a lot of calls on not only that item, but that same seller had a Brandt field conveyor that sold real close to new price. So was real good activity on those items. We had a Terragator sold for Agco Finance in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and David Herring was the Big Iron rep that gathered all the information and all the footage. But this machine had about 1,460 hours on it, and it brought exactly $75,000. It was a good-looking machine, come right into use season, and there was over 250 different bids received on that machine. Now, we had a great sale in Shickley, Nebraska for the Nedro Farms, and they had an unbelievable lineup of equipment, including a John Deere S660 combine that had 714 separator hours, 953 on the engine, had duals. It sold for just a tick under $140,000. That had bids from all over the country and ended up selling to a buyer in Texas. So that was nice. There was a wheel loader that sold in Royal, Nebraska for Central Valley Ag, or CVA, and it was a Hyundai wheel loader. That sold to a buyer in Indiana. And that machine sold for right at $50,350. Back to our sellers in Shickley, Nebraska. They had a low time Magnum 280 mechanical front tractor, duals on the front, duals on the rear. Get this, only 464 hours. Now, this machine was in outstanding condition. This was the Bruce Nedro Trust, and Jamin Harms, who's had a bunch of retirement sales here in the last couple weeks, and he's got a couple more scheduled, was the rep, and he's doing an outstanding job of representing the equipment on behalf of the owners. This tractor sold for $135,000. There was 235 bids received on this from, oh my gosh, I can't even count how many states were bidding on that particular tractor. But good quality equipment usually attracts a good crowd, and that was a hot item. Also, another hot item, folks, Scott Bierman retired. He was from Dakota City, Nebraska, and Andrew Goebbels was the Big Iron rep. He had a 2007 Peterbilt 379 semi-truck. Now, this had a lot of bells and whistles, folks. It had 837,000 miles, had the Cat C15 motor, which everybody's looking for, 18-speed transmission. It was an extended hood, had a sleeper, had big stacks, chrome wheels all the way around. $66,500 was what that truck sold for on the Scott Bierman retirement sale. A tremendous truck and a lot of exposure from people all over. We do want to commend to Clint Werner, who was the rep for the Cromie Farms LLC retirement. Billy Cromie and Terry Cromie retired. Clint Werner was the rep, but they sold a 2014 John Deere 1990 Series CCS air seeder. This machine in excellent condition brought $48,750. They also had a combine, I believe it was a 670 with a Hilco package on it that sold outstanding. They did a wonderful job. We had Nebraska Public Power District selling a lot of their fleet vehicles and service equipment, so that equipment sold all across the numerous states. So, folks, a tremendous lineup of machinery. and a lot of outstanding auction prices were established last week. And that's because, in my opinion, we always publish the owner's name, and it gives that buyer confidence. It provides some credibility to the equipment that was selling. But we also noticed that our amount of viewers has jumped a little over 24% week over week. And I think a lot of those auctions that have been postponed or canceled, and a lot of people are staying at home and they're confined to their environment just for the safety sake of everybody around them, they've been watching our online auction platform. And we have a saying around here called it strength in numbers. And anytime you have a large auction with a number of pieces and you have a large auction with a lot of participants and a lot of people watching, strength in numbers create strong prices. And we saw that here on April 1st. And I think we're going to see some similar results here as we continue our way here into April.
Well, as we look a little bit ahead here into April, next auction's coming up on the 8th. What do we have featured there? What looks good to you?
Yeah, April 8th, just under 2,000 items. There's 1,986 items that will sell on our next Wednesday online auction. David Woltemade is retiring, and wow, does he have some outstanding equipment, folks. They've got a Miller Nitro self-propelled sprayer. It's the 4275 version. It's a 2012 model, but this thing's got low time for its year. It's only got 886 hours on this machine. Now, Clint Werner is the rep, and you can call Clint, and he can spend some time with you over the phone and talk to you about his equipment. They've got a like-new John Deere 1990 CCS air seeder. It's a 2018 model, 15-inch spacing, 40-foot wide. This thing is immaculate, and you need to check this machine that's selling out for David Woltemade, who is retiring, and he's going to move out to Colorado to spend time with his family. Just a really nice guy. Been farming his whole life around the Cedar Bluffs, Nebraska area, and you're not going to find equipment any nicer or more well cared for than what he will be selling here to the highest bidder. For all you engine buffs, he's got a 2018 Chevrolet custom build 632 gas engine. And I believe that he has got an airboat, I think, that can walk on water. That we're not selling it because that would be, that's taking away his true toy. But you need to check out the motor for all you people that like chrome valve covers and real fancy looking motors that shine, because every now and then we sell these unique items. And right now, I mean, we are a week away from this sale closing out, and this motor's got a $6,000 offer on it, 35 bids, and there's people from all over the country bidding on that. But their tractors include a 5100M with a 260 loader that's got low hours on it, less than 400 hours. They've got a John Deere 7930 mechanical front tractor. It's a 2009, folks, but this thing, I believe, has less than 1,000 hours on it, and it's very well cared for. In fact, 864 hours on this particular tractor with an IVT transmission. It's got the 2600 monitor, auto track. It's ready to go. It is a doll, and it's going to sell here on April the 8th on the Big Iron online auction. Now, in addition to those items, we've got the Gerald Walsh retirement sale. He's by Hubbard, Nebraska. His sale featuring a Case IH 7140 mechanical front tractor. He's got a Knight, it's a Kuhn Knight 3142 real Augie feed wagon that's in really good condition. He's got a 2010 New Holland BR 7090 round baler. That hay season, folks, coming right around the corner. You know, in not too long a period of time, that first cut is going to need to be dropped down. Please check out all of the equipment selling for the Gerald Walsh retirement sale in Hubbard, Nebraska. We got Haberger Brothers retiring in Kinsley, Kansas. And these guys were in a custom harvesting business for a long time. They've got 38 items, several combines, including a John Deere S670. This has got a rear wheel assist on it. They've got several different headers, including a John Deere 635 Flex Draper. They've got grain trailers. They've got grain carts that are selling. They got a 9870 combine. It's an '09 model. So please support their retirement sale. They got a 9760 combine. They've got these real fancy heavy haul header trailers that are also selling. So those are some real good people in Kinsley, Kansas who are retiring. Support them. Check out their Kenworth W900. It's a 96 model that's getting a lot of attention right now with over 108 bids, and that auction doesn't close out here for quite a while. We have several other retirement sales too that are taking place. Thomas Bunge is from Dawson, Iowa, and their auction features some really clean equipment as well. They got a Parker Harvest wagon that's selling. They got a Klaus Lexion 740 track combine. So check those out. They got a couple of hit and miss engines as well. They got a big Brent 1080 tracked grain cart. This grain cart on tracks, folks. If you got tired of getting stuck last year, you might need something like that. They've also got a 7140 mechanical front tractor selling in Dawson, Iowa for their sale that's taking place next Wednesday. We've got the Wesley Dorn Estate in Firth, Nebraska. I could talk all day long, but this particular sale, folks, features a New Holland CR8090 combine. And this is a big machine, 2011 model. We want to draw your attention to it because it is just that clean. It's got 2,674 hours showing on this machine, but it's been well cared for. So please check it all out on the Big Iron website. Had quite a bit of repairs done to it. Check out the Wesley Dorn Estate items selling on Big Iron. We could talk all day long too. We got equipment selling in Martin, South Dakota, Wendell, Minnesota, Burlington, Colorado. We got Diane Spear and her big sale in Lincoln, Kansas. There's a nice spread of machinery as well. So check that out. And if you're in the market for quality equipment, remember, all you have to do is call the owners and ask questions to give you a sense of satisfaction. We've got Brenning Ranch retiring in Arapahoe. We also have the Bueller Farms retiring in Gearing, Nebraska. Those are just some of the many retirement sales that are going to be sold on our big sale, just under 2,000 items on April the 8th.
Oh, very good, Mark. I think I'm going to move over to our real estate side of things here. April 16th, we have 2 tracks selling in Antelope County. The real estate agent on that is Rex Mahoney. We got 1 tract selling in Barton, Kansas. And then April 23rd, we got a tract selling in Pierce County, and Jim and John are the real estate agents on that. But today we had a pretty good looking sale in Wallace County, Kansas. The agent on that was Mike Campbell. Could you maybe talk a little bit about that? And that was kind of one of our big sales here within the big wake of the coronavirus here.
That is true. And, it was a nervous time for our landowners. This family had owned this land since the early 60s, and they had a long-time tenant in place that notified them that he was retiring. Thus, they made the decision to sell. And they were extremely nervous when the governor of Kansas came out earlier last week that, or over the weekend, in fact, that they were issuing a mandatory stay at home. So a lot of people were concerned about, well, how's this auction going to take place? And we said, well, folks, we've been doing online auctions since 2009. We've been broadcasting auctions over the internet since 2001. We've been in the auction business since 1984. So that's 36 years of that, plus 11 years just in the timed-only events. And we are very sensitive to that family because we understand that it's their first time, and they were indeed extremely nervous. But when the sale ended up and finished, it actually sold for right at 6% more than the appraised value. So the family was very satisfied. Bidders from all over the country, Kansas. In fact, the same person bought it all. But the way our auctions are coupled with our tracks, there was 3 separate tracks, and anytime somebody would bid on one tract, it would extend to all the other tracks. And we saw several people moving from one tract to the other just because, one was a bigger size tract, which was more total dollars, and the other 2 tracts were 154 and 155 acres. And they could move and navigate back and forth between those 3 parcels. But Illinois was bidding, Ohio was bidding. We had one of the last bidders from Virginia that was bidding. Colorado was bidding. Nebraska was bidding. Oklahoma was bidding. And the winning bidder was from Kansas. So at least a Kansas buyer ended up with a Kansas property. But the sellers, extremely pleased. Mike Campbell said they were happy, and Mike was thrilled with the amount of exposure that the Big Iron Realty brand and the Big Iron brand brings to these folks that not only want to sell machinery, but the folks that want to buy and invest in real estate. We've noticed people that have gotten out of the stock market. They've moved from that very volatile market right now, and they are reinvesting their money into something that's a little bit less volatile, and that would be farmland and ranch land. So we do have these extra parcels that you had mentioned that are coming up in the weeks ahead, and they all sell with no reserves. That's our platform, folks. That's why it works. People know that we're not playing games, and whenever we mark an item sold on our website, it's not somebody that's bidding on it just to run up the price and not having to write out a check for it. Everybody writes out a check for the items that sell in Big Iron. That's why banks like our auction results so much. They know it's legitimate. They know it's transparent. They know it's true. And we get a lot of recommendations from bankers all across the country. We want to thank them so much for doing that for us. But they always tell us that's because we provide them with such valuable information. We're grateful to do that, and that's our base model, our business model. We're going to continue to do it that way.
Well, there's also another option to get into some farmland. You can lease it too. And recently, Big Iron has teamed up with a company called LandRenter.com. How does this work, and what's LandRenter got coming up?
Well, we've got a brand new opportunity, folks. There's some land in Dodge County over north of Fremont, Nebraska, that is going to be up for bids for a 1-year lease opportunity. The details are being worked out as we speak, so this is kind of an advance notice. There's 225 acres that is going to be auctioned off to the highest bidder for that lease farming opportunity, and I believe that auction is going to conclude here on the 23rd of April. We've got Tyler and Amy Brook that are streaming that endeavor called LandRenter.com. They're using the Big Iron auction platform to conduct that. There are a few little tweaks to it to help protect the integrity of that process. So you're going to want to check out LandRenter.com here, and you'll see how you can participate in an opportunity to rent farm ground in Dodge County, Nebraska.
Yeah, very good. Got some exciting stuff going on. Well, that's our show for today, folks. I'd like to thank our guest, Mark Stock, and remind everyone that the real estate mentioned on today's show can be found at BigIronRealty.com. If you're interested in that land renter property, be sure to visit LandRenter.com. And the equipment that was referenced is on the April 8th auction on BigIron.com. For the Big Iron Buzz, I'm Drew Dolezal. We'll catch you here next week.